Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is a scene for Empire of Thorns. Claudio Donati, High Source of the Spring Court, is expecting his first children with his fiancée, Iris. And Iris said something during a conversation while they're sitting in the Spring Court as he's working on something for for 12th night that's approaching, that caught him off guard. And that was a bit of a more grassroots approach to their children in the courts, not raising their children in one specific court, but a bit more kind of free floating them between different courts. And he's going to stop like writing, and he's going to look up at her and he's going to say, Caramillo, we can't do that.
Why not?
Because you can't. They have to be. He'll kind of shake his head and kind of keep writing, and he'll say they have to be governed in one court or the other.
Why? They're babies. They're not part of a court. They're not really ready to be part of a court.
He's basically kind of writing, and he said, because the other option is courtless, and that's not an option. And he'll just kind of shake his head and shrug.
Why not?
What do you mean, why not?
Well, I mean, why not? I mean, if they're still babies and they're still working out who they are.
Hold on, let me explain something. You can, the royal you can completely raise children courtless. I'm not raising my children courtless is what I mean to say. Autumn, spring, I don't care. Hell, go drop them off at the summer court's doorstep.
Why?
But for the same reason that I believe that the courtless are hopelessly lost and unwise.
Well, some people choose to be courtless long term, and some people are courtless until they figure out which court they want to belong to. And personally, I think that they should be able to wait until they're ready to decide which court they want to belong to.
Well, but the problem is you're speaking of adults who have the rational ability to make said decision and understand the ramifications of what they do if they go courtless, which is have the gentry breathing down their throat. The courts protect us from the gentry, and they give us a measure of sustenance and hold in this world, and especially when you're dealing with
abandon them. But I mean, what are you going to suddenly decide we have to raise them Catholic or something?
I don't care. This is a little bit more pressing than Catholic or not. I don't think Christ is going to literally possibly come kick down the door and take them. I've had a member of the gentry kick down the door and take me, as have you. So as to whether they're Catholic or Protestant
but still
Hindu, it doesn't matter. I've yet to see the Christ come and take measure as to my faith, but I have seen the gentry and I believe in them.
And that means we should force them into a court before they even know who they are?
They don't have to follow the ideals of the court. They'd be too young to form a steady opinion on in the first place. And with me being a Circe and you being a member of the spring or of the autumn court, they're already going to have some bias put onto them. I'm a Circe, for God's sake. I literally decide who comes into this court.
They're babies. They can't Like you just said, they can't.
They're
They
babies.
can't be a part of a court. Don't even understand it.
They are wards of the court. There's a difference. Just like Bella is a ward of the court, just like Christopher is a ward of the court. They're wards of the court, just like Sam is a ward of the Autumn Court. They are not full members of the court, but they are cared for by the court.
Well, if we're members of the court and they're our wards, isn't that kind of already an issue that there's two courts there anyway?
Which is why I'm more than happy to acquiesce to them being put to the Autumn Court. Which, might I add, as the High Source of the Spring Court, there are other High Sources who would say I'm a fool for that. But I respect you enough to understand that you might want them in the Autumn Court as a charge, and to be taught and aided by Andreas.
I still don't get why they can't be wards of both courts.
Because that's not the way it works, Karamiu.
I get why you can't be a member of both courts, but wards is more like goodwill, and you can have goodwill from more than one court.
I understand what you're saying. I do. But neither is going to agree. Certainly not Andreas, probably not Liam. I'm not sure about the Winter Court, and the Summer Court, they most definitely will not agree. The Summer Court is precise, efficient. They don't do things like that. Andreas is a stickler for order. Liam can be more persuaded, but I don't think he would bend on
that. So what? They have to have only one teacher ever?
It's not quite that. Until they can choose to seek their own tutelage.
Isn't that even more reason to try and get them all sorts of different tutelage?
First off, you should probably talk to the Rev. He's a Universal Unitarian minister. Apparently that's what they do, religious-wise. Secondly, it's not about them, Iris. We are not granted the luxury of choices sometimes with this life we lead. I understand that that's hard for you to understand, and I understand that you want them to have a bit more autonomy.
Not exactly. I mean, it's more that they can't make the choice, so
that it's up to us to,
which means we have to consider what's best for them, not just go, well, I like this court best, so you're going there.
Then think long and hard on it. Whoever they end up wards of for the time being, I don't care. I would prefer to see them in the spring. But if you wish for them to be wards of the autumn, that's fine. I don't recommend that they're wards of the winter, and I certainly don't recommend that they're wards of the summer. I put my foot down on courtless. That's my limit, Iris.
Well, what
about... I mean, unless you're willing to traipse yourself to Russia and put them into the Dawn Court.
What about all the hobs at the markets? Most of them aren't allied with any of the courts.
Hob is to hob. They don't need it.
The babies are going to be Hobbs.
How hybrids? We'll kind of hold his hand up and like do the half thing.
They're growing like Hobbs.
He'll nod. I understand. Remember, I am a baron of the lesser ones. Trust me. You're not educating me on anything
Where
involving
do the Hobbs send their children?
They care for them themselves, but Hobbs don't quite have the threat of the gentry coming to snatch them away.
I wonder why not.
Because they're Hobbs.
Like I said, the babies are Hobbs.
Yes, but they belong to changeling parents, and they are of changeling blood. They have the blood of changeling flowing through them. It's a mark to them.
So do half the Hobbs. Okay, sometimes it's like 2 or 3 generations back, but you go ask the Hobbs who if they've got any changelings in their ancestry.
And that would be why some of them do belong to the courts. Chrysalis is a good example. She's allied with us. Her father sent her to the Spring Court. You have trusted me on every step of this journey. Why now? Have I steered you wrong so far?
I've trusted you with my life and my happiness, but this is more than that.
When we chose to have children, that was a trust in their investment. I was considering them. Oh, them, and I thought we were only going to have one, but whatever, you understand what I'm saying. I've been dealing with children in the court for, my God, how long, Iris? I've been Circe now? This is literally my job. What you're telling me is you don't trust me to do my basic function in the court.
No, what I'm telling you is I want them to have that choice.
And that is a choice they will have when they age. I won't stop them from going to another court. I would advise them against going courtless. But as long as they're young, especially being Hobbs, it's almost more imperative that they are awarded to one of the courts. And I have yet to see, to this day, the courts hold two wards. I'm sorry. It's not a choice that I can make. First off, I'm not the one who decides I'm not the one who makes these decisions. Not that. I decide who joins the court. I don't decide things involving the wards of the court. That's Liam and Andreas and Abigail. And I guess King Juan of the Summer Court.
Well, maybe we should ask them.
I don't have time right now. If you want to go ask them, go ahead. But I'm preparing for 12th night.
Okay. She's going to stand up. She's going to kiss Claudio on the cheek, and she's going to wander off in search of Liam.
Okay. I'm going to see if Liam is busy or not. Plus, he's busy, minus he's not. Blank. I'll just scream fuck you at the blank die until it's not optional. We have to find a thing for the blank dies.
Blank is he's busy but not too busy to talk.
Okay. Well, it's positive, so he's available.
Okay, so yeah, she's gonna go.
Let me roll another die for one thing. Blank, good. He's kind of sitting in like one of the areas, like one of the common areas, in a sarong, basically, kind of like leaning back with kind of his head, like kind of looking at the ceiling, essentially,
Mm-hmm.
and relaxing.
Hi.
I'll look up at her. Let me put fucking Liam's overlay up like an asshole. He does not look like Claudio, although he does have the ability to change his appearance. You mean the court whore can change his appearance? Why, yes, he can. There he is. There you go. So he'll look up at her. Hello.
So,
He starts singing Numa Numa softly.
So, apparently, to sort out the whole ward thing, I need to talk to you for the spring court and Andreas for the autumn court.
He'll pull an earbud out of his ear. He was listening. He could hear her. It's just he wants to really hear her. And he'll turn his MP3 player off. Psychic ability is not one I've attained yet, darling. What do you need to talk about? He'll kind of smile at her.
Well, I wanted to know if it's possible for a child to be a ward of more than one court.
Is this an ethics debate, or are you asking me?
First, I want to know if it's possible, and then I want to ask if you'd be willing to do that. Because that's two different things.
Oh,
okay. I need to know if it's possible before.
Is it possible? There is not precedent. Am I willing to do it? No.
Why?
I don't think his head. Because of the gentry activity that's been around lately. There have been true fae in the area. Loyalists. Certainly not.
There's been a true fate in this court. It's.
His brows go up. I'm sorry, what?
Ask for Al. Anyway.
He gets up and walks off. Tightening his sarong. If you follow, or does she just go off and find Andreas now?
She'll follow.
Yeah, he'll go up to Ferran, and he's basically like, he's just in the throne room, kind of laying on the floor, and he'll pick his head up and look at him. And he'll walk up and he'll say, Your Majesty, am I led to believe that there's a true fae in the court? And he'll tilt his head and say, Not anymore. He left, and beyond that, he's had his powers greatly reduced. He's one of the banished, and on top of that, he sold most of his powers for the ability to be one of us. So essentially, he's kind of lost. He just still has some of his powers. And Liam will nod. And he'll turn back to Iris and say, That's a certain no.
Well, the thing is, I just don't think it's fair deciding on somebody's court for them.
Life isn't fair.
That doesn't mean we shouldn't try to be.
Well, when the gentry stop taking us and being a threat to us, and we don't need the courts, we can revisit this. But as of right now, as politely as I can possibly put it, and I understand where you're coming from, I have children of my own. With the presence of loyalists that have been plaguing our courts recently, and the fact that we apparently had a true fate in our court, shaking his head like, thanks for telling me, I would say that it's almost imperative that our children be wardened and shored up more than ever.
You can have goodwill with more than one court.
Yes, you can.
So, but warding is more like goodwill than it is like being a member, because the children don't manifest mantle or anything.
There are one of two things that lead to one being under the aegis of a court. Either the weird embraces and accepts them, and they are bestowed a measure, the mantle, upon a court, usually by choice. I've seen it happen outside of choice before. Rare, happens. Or they're brought in as wards of the court. Someone who belongs to the court or has made the decision for that child brings them into the aegis of the court to protect them from the gentry until they can make the choice as to which path they take when they're older. But if this is such a problem, just raise your children courtless. He'll just kind of roll his hand like, whatever, you don't even have to do this. Just
Claudio
like
really
not vaccinating kids. he considers
really
to pay anti-vaxxer right now.
Courtless.
Huh?
Claudio really doesn't want them raised courtless.
Oh. Oh my. Oh my. His face lights up. Is that so? I don't envy you right now. He'll just shake his head like, oh. Then it's going to come down to a contest of the wills, I see. Which one compromises, you or him?
She's going to narrow her eyes at him and say, probably both. Turn on her heel and walk off.
Okay.
And she's going to see if she can find Andreas.
Okay. Andreas is at the Autumn Court itself.
Mm-hmm. That's probably where she's heading. She might spend 10 times as much time at the Spring Court, but she does know where the Autumn Court is.
So yes, he is, when you walk up, you notice that he is, basically standing in front of about 10 men, all in kind of various states of dress, and some of them are wearing like prison uniforms, some are wearing like kind of street clothes. All of them look pretty nervous and cagey, and he's kind of taking inventory of them and looking over them and marking like any marks on their skin, stuff like that.
Hello.
Hola. No sé.
Is this a bad time?
Shrug. Not really. He'll kind of
Well,
open his mouth and like take notes.
I wanted to talk to you about this whole boarding business thing.
Nod. He'll
Have
kind
you
of go over
bothered?
to another one and he'll like grab his hand and kind of turn his wrist, and the guy will kind of fight back, and he'll basically kind of like press on a pressure point in his wrist and like jerk his arm forward. And I'll say, "You don't want to make this any more hard on yourself." He'll shake his head and kind of look at his arm and make a note. Take a breath. Go on.
Have you ever considered whether someone could be a ward of two different courts?
Consider it? Yes, I have.
Do you think that would be an option?
Absolutely not.
Okay, why? And I know she's had exactly the same conversation with Liam, but it's
Why?
informative.
Why? Okay. He'll basically kind of look at the people standing there, and he'll wave at one of the one of the guards basically, and he'll tell them to take them and give them the clipboard, and they'll leave the room, and he'll turn back to her. Let me explain something to you. And what I'm going to say to you, I want you to listen carefully. Do you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to explain anything to you. My reasons are my own. So you ask me why. You have been back 2 months. You know nothing of this world compared to me. If you cut me off, this conversation ends. Are you listening?
Yes.
Good. Because Claudio is my motley man, I will offer you an explanation. There are two choices on what can be done with children. The wards of court. One can either be raised courtless, or they can be raised under the aegis of a court. I'm sure that has been explained to you. The reason it must be done this way is because the chaotic nature between raising children between two courts is a beacon to the gentry. It invites them. It draws them to those children. It is baseless. It is without a beacon or light, especially when those two courts are so diametrically opposed as the spring and the autumn. If you try to raise your children between those two courts, then the second they leave your womb, you can kiss them upon their cheeks and hand them over to the gentry. And if that's what you want to do, go ahead. You have the choice to raise them courtless, but I know Claudio won't do that, because Claudio does not favor the courtless. But the reason I will not accept it is because it does more harm than good. And although you believe that you are doing your best for your children, And I understand that. And I respect that. You're not. Now, if you believe that they will not be given under my care a holistic education that will prepare them to seek out the court of their choosing when they age, then you're insulting me. And I don't think that's really what you want to do, nor your intention. Now, you have a lot to think about, and you have my answer. So I don't really think you have any further questions, do you?
She's looking very, very thoughtful. Like, she does actually have a few more questions, but is not going to ask them.
Although I respect where you're coming from, and I understand your intentions, and moreover, will accept, but only because I am Claudio's monte baby, to entertain the idea of raising your children between two courts. You'd be making a mistake. I appreciate your tenacity, and I appreciate your fix-it attitude. But there's a saying, choose your battles wisely. There's a bullet with everyone's name written on it. But a grenade, that's addressed to whom it may concern. And what you're doing to your children right now is pulling the pin.
I'm not doing anything to them right now. I'm trying to understand my options. And not just... I'm trying to ask questions to understand them better and not just assume that everything has to be done the way it's always been done. Now you've been explaining why it's done that way. That's what I was asking.
I'm glad I was able to elaborate.
Because you just said, no, I wouldn't do that because I don't want to. Okay, admittedly not in those words, but that was pretty much the impression he gave. And you actually explained why. And that's what I needed to know.
Well, I'm, as I said, your fiance's monte man. So it's not a matter of respect or disrespect. I will he'll kind of do this with his hand, like the roll his hand thing. Liam he's been doing what he does for a very long time. A very long time. So he's less quick to offer an answer.
Plus, he was kind of distracted. Okay, so if they have to be a ward of one court,
Why don't you ward one to one court and one to the other?
I'm not going to split them up.
Why not? You're not sending them to boarding school. You're not literally splitting your children up. It's not as though they'll never see each other.
Well, what my next question was going to be, which is kind of relevant with the whole possibly boarding one to one and one to the other, but if they're warded to one court, can they still take lessons in another one? It's just, I was brought up and I had lots of different teachers and they all taught me different things. And as much as I think both of you I don't really know either of you well enough to know for sure, but I'm fairly sure that both of you do give well-rounded educations and everything, but sometimes the lessons aren't the only thing that you learn from. And I learned a lot from having lots of different teachers when I was growing up. So,
but this isn't about an education. In part, it is. This is also about guarding from the gentry. We belong to courts to guard from the gentry. If people want to take a risk and choose to remain courtless, he shrugs. That's their choice.
That wasn't quite what I asked. If they're wards of one court, can they go to lessons in the other one?
If you wish to insult the instructor of either court.
I just said it's not about saying that either of you can't teach everything, but you don't only learn from what the lessons contain, you also learn from being around different people. And like I said, I learned a lot from different teachers and their different teaching styles.
Then I would recommend that you ward your children to the spring court. The spring court favors creativity more and following one's desires, and a more unorthodox approach to things. With the amount of time you spend over there anyway, I'm amazed you haven't jumped sides. I only pray to God your man doesn't end up king in spring.
I don't think he wants to be. But that's not the point. The point is, we learn from our fears. That's the entire reason I'm in this court. As much as everyone seems to forget it, and as much as I spend a lot of time in spring, we learn from our fears and from what we've been through. That's where the power in them lies. I mean, I know a lot of people like causing fear in other people. I don't know. I just think.
Have you ever considered that maybe, although when you first returned that the autumn court fit you well, you may no longer find yourself in line with the ideals. There's nothing wrong with changing courts. But as you said, you spend a lot of time in the spring. And although you did embrace the idea of fear and courage when you first arrived, one does not draw any ire from realizing that a change of scene, lifestyle might be good. It's no disrespect, just a point. Do you honestly want to stay a member of the home court? And for what purpose? Would you flourish more under the spring? Thus, saving yourself a very large problem, because then I would assume that you would then ward your children to the spring and save yourself and your husband a headache and possibly deepen your own personal journey.
That's aside from the point.
No, it's not. It's actually quite a good point.
It is a good point, but it's not the one I'm trying to focus on right now. Look, you can be a member of one court and have goodwill with another court. So, could you be a ward of one court and go there 3 days a week and go to another court 1 day a week and stay home another day?
No. Not in the autumn. Perhaps the winter will allow it. Perhaps the summer will. If you press Liam enough, perhaps he'll allow it. I won't, because I understand what that would bring, and I explained to you. And I won't explain it again. That sort of capriciousness is a magnet for the gentry. This isn't school. This isn't an education. This isn't lessons. This is the court. This is the weird. And our base. And I've been doing this a very long time. You have yet to have it impress upon you what happens.
What about the Hobbs?
They're not my concern.
No.
Those that are of changeling blood are, but they're a different breed altogether.
What if they're a member of a court and they go to that court for their lessons and then they spend a day interacting with Hobbs and learning about them at the market? I mean, they're going to be Hobbs.
Perhaps I haven't impressed this upon you yet.
No, I get it. I'm just trying to figure out where it starts messing with the court connection, and I'm trying to find a way I'm just trying to find a way.
There is a way. You just don't want to take it. Or your husband won't allow it. Well, I'm sure you can push him enough, and he would agree to raise them courtless. But you could also shatter your relationship. Seeing, and he'll lean in, his connection with the king's consort, you might want to consider that.
You might want to remember I'm not so spring that trying to play on my fears is going to work on that one.
Oh, that's not a play on your fears. That was a fact. That was no manipulation or agenda. I know what I want to do. What you're willing to do is another question all entirely. And I've given you an explanation. I'm sorry it doesn't hold to what you would choose. The courts aren't capricious like that. They're not flexible. They're not. That's not the way the courts work.
She's suddenly going to look like she's just had a wonderful idea.
They'll just look like drop it if you want, or don't.
Chrysalis is part of the Spring Court and she's a hob.
Yes.
So she's part of the Spring Court. So it would not be outside the court if they were warded to the Spring Court. But she'd still be different.
Are you so desperate for your children to be unique that you would put them in danger? Because that's all I'm hearing right now.
That might be what you're hearing, but that's not what I'm saying.
Well, that or you don't realize it. As I see it right now, you're just being belligerent. That's fine. You're doing it at the possible cost of your children, though.
I'm trying. Whatever you might think that I'm trying to figure out a way to give them the best possible education while still sticking within the rules of what keeps them safe.
Then put them in the Spring Court. Liam is a fine governor. I am as well. I just think that from what I know of you and Claudio, you'd prefer his tutelage.
Why?
He engenders more a love of the arts, humanities, of creativity and things that I know Claudio engenders and cares for, and I believe you do as well. I do too, but my agenda is a bit different. I tend to go more with the mystic studies, the occult.
I can teach them about art. That's not really the issue.
Either way, outside of the protection that draws under those of the courtless to protect them, unless you choose to remain courtless, which is an option, and raise them outside of the courts, children are not. It's the goodwill of an adult is different than the goodwill of a child. It just doesn't work like that. They're so vulnerable. They're young. That is the age in which most are taken. That is the stories, the history, what the weird recognizes. A babe taken from its crib and left with a fetch.
You didn't answer about the more than one teacher from the same court, though.
If you have different tutors for them on an educational front, that's a different story, and I don't care about that. But as far as their warding goes, one can choose to raise their children courtless, or one can choose to raise them in the court, but they cannot be raised between courts.
I know. That's why I said if I warded them with one court, could they visit the other one for lessons? And you said no. So
no, they cannot visit the other for lessons. Could they have tutors brought to them within their own court? It's highly unprecedented, especially when you're not dealing with one of the monarchs. But I would be willing to pay visit to another court. Say once a month.
Thank you. That's pretty much exactly what I was looking for.
Do you understand the difference between them coming to me and me going to them?
Yes.
Okay. Now do this for you. Because of Claudio.
She'll nod. Thank you.
I'll nod again. What I meant about your position in the court, by the way, was not as an insult.
I know, it's just...
Those are
Everyone
things
seems
you wish to hang on to, then fine. But
even the frigging ghost that was possessing Tam seemed to think I was Spring.
what are you?
I'm me. I'm someone that likes to take the bad things and turn them into good things. And you can't do that without the bad things. And fear isn't all bad. It's also what helps keep you safe. It's as much as a lot of people seem to think that it's about making people scared, sometimes it's the working through the fear that makes you stronger. And that's the bit that I relate to.
Do you relate to it so much that it suffuses you to the point of staying within this court? Or is it merely something that you can respect and yet embrace Spring's banner?
Unfortunately, I think as much as you say that the autumn and spring are so very different, what I feel kind of suffuses me is growing from fear and kind of the desire to grow from fear. It's
So you're telling me that you feel you're fit in the autumn court when you have a desire to grow?
it's both. It's always been both. That's the problem. They're both fused together.
Then if you choose to stay on this side of the coin, fine. But that's your choice. I can see why people believe you belong to the Spring Court. You spend all your time over there. I rarely see you. But a shrug. That's your choice to make. I can't make it for you. The only person that could remove you from the court is the Queen.
They do have a better kitchen.
They do have a better kitchen. But as I understand it, their kitchen is owned and controlled by the consort, who is the person who puts Gordon Ramsay to shame.
He seemed mostly okay to me.
I know the Renaud family. Well, they are old blood, very old changeling blood. And they're Maurice's nephew is the king of the Autumn Court, Jean-Luc Renaud. His brother Rania Renaud is the prince. He's the Legion of Mist. Maurice was offered the Spring Crown last spring and the spring before, and he turned it down both times. I found it ironic he comes here and marries the Spring King. Ironically, his twin brother is immortal. It's one of the very, 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 very few ways, very, very rarest ways that a mortal can be born of fame. As if they're twins and one absorbs the changeling soul. It's so rare it's barely spoken of.
Well, I don't think that's happening with either of these.
I don't either. Ultimately, the decision is up to you and your husband. As to what you wish to do. I know one choice that Claudio will not make on his own. But fortunately, that in fitting of your belief is the one choice that you would seem best with. And as I said, if your children are wards at Spring Court, I am willing to tutor them from time to time, though I will not serve as their guardian ward. But I will come, say, once a month to make sure that their education is being varied.
Thank you.
But you have to convince Liam to accept that.
If I chose to make them wards of the Autumn Court, and I tried to convince Liam of the same thing, what would your thoughts be on that?
If he agreed to it, I would offer him a month's time. 1 time a month. I would offer the same in return.
Well, that's a start. So I suppose I've got that to work from. Thank you for explaining everything.
Mm-hmm. And he'll give her a polite bow of his head. Where is the girl off to now?
Chrysalis, I think.
She isn't available right now.
Okay.
I'm sorry. She was involved in something else.
That's fair enough. Does she even know where the Winter Court is? That is the question.
Without any tie to the Winter Court isn't likely to ward her.
No, she wasn't going to ask about that one.
Yeah, but she has an idea of what the Winter Court is, but the Winter Court, well, first off, you can go to Belvedere Castle. But, do you have any Winter Court goodwill?
Nope.
Yeah, they're really bitchy about dealing with people who aren't Winter Court. Like,
yep, that's fair enough. Doesn't mean she can't ask.
You can ask Raven. Raven is in town.
Pardon?
You could ask Raven.
This is true. So yeah. She might ask Draven.
So you're gonna go find Draven?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me get his overlay up. Not Liam, Jesus Christ. Okay.
Though she will probably end up going back to Liam at the end of this little trip.
Yes. So Draven will meet you at your doors. He'll smile at her when she comes in. He's kind of kicked back.
Hello.
Hello.
So.
Oh, this is gonna be good.
I'm trying to figure out what to do about the babies.
I mean, I'm willing to adopt them if you really wanted to get rid of them that badly. That's not what you meant, was it?
No.
Smile at her.
So, I need to figure out which court to ward them to.
Why do you need to figure that out?
Pardon?
Why do you need to figure that out? Ward them to their father's court.
Why?
Because changeling and hob children tend to take forms that complement their mother, obviously. So it's kind of a balance to ward them to their father's court, if their father's not courtless. No, he's not, I guess, to make them courtless, but whatever.
But there's one of me and there's two of them already anyway.
Just split them up.
No, I mean there's Claudio and Tam, and they're both spring, and I
Wow. So this is like advice from a man? Don't do that. I meant their biological father.
Okay.
I mean, that's just my opinion. That way there's a balance. And because there's a balance, it'll throw off the gentry.
Speaking of balance,
It's just when you come on to me, because if you're going to come down to me, I want you to give me a drink first, okay? And then you can come on to me.
pardon?
Go on.
Well, I was talking to Liam, and then I was talking to Andreas, and Liam really didn't explain things very well, but Andreas did.
Okay.
And he agreed that if I could get Liam to agree to it, he might go over and give magic lessons at the spring court.
Okay.
And that if I ordered them to the autumn court and I could get Liam to agree to go over, he'd kind of allow the same thing.
Go on.
But I'm thinking, as much as they need to be ordered to one court, it would be nice if, kind of like how when you're in primary school, you've got one teacher that teaches you most of the things, and then the one teacher that comes in and just teaches French.
Yeah, sweetheart, I'm a gypsy. I didn't go to school like that.
Okay.
My parents had me on the road the whole time. So, although they're fostered to one court, they receive tutelage from the others.
Yeah. Even if they mostly only get it from the one court, just like the things that the other courts are best at.
So, what do you want me for? Oh my god, don't tell me you want me to teach your kids how to hide and do wintry shit.
That would be awesome.
Oh my god, you'll never see your children again.
That was totally not what she was thinking, but now he has said it, her face is completely lit up.
Oh, god damn it. You want me to have a hand in rearing your children?
Spending one day a month teaching them hide and seek is...
I am going to teach them hide and seek, and then I'm going to teach them to curse you out in every complicated, beautiful, glorious Romany word I can. Okay? Just to let you know.
Why?
Why? Because I'm an asshole. Hello? You really have to ask that? Like, it's like emblazoned across my chest. I'm an asshole. Or did you forget that about me? He'll give her a puppy dog look. Yeah, sure, I'll teach your kids how to play hide and seek. And all the other things that they need to know with the Winter Court. Like hiding your true emotions and secrets.
See,
I won't teach them how to curse in Romney. Are you happy? Oh my god. I mean, I really
excellent. That would be awesome.
You missed it.
But yeah, that's basically what I was thinking. I think it would be good for
Carte blanche now.
good for them, and and just good all round. So, thank you. And I shall. I'll see if Liam agrees to all this.
I better hope he does, because you're going to do a lot of work.
Well,
Might help if we bribe the man.
what kind of bribe?
You dirty-minded woman.
What? I was thinking cupcakes. And she actually was.
Hell, chew on something for a moment. Where's Liam want?
I don't know. I haven't really spoken to him very much.
I don't think he talks that much unless he goes, oh, yeah. That's all I really hear come out of his mouth. Keep that in mind, by the way, when you're deciding who rears your children. We are talking about the Sage Ash Court of the goddamn Spring Court.
Yep. Or Andreas. Like I said, he said that he'd be
Andreas is your other option? The man who routinely kills people? Like, once a month? Nice.
Yeah, I don't really have very many options.
It's a horror murderer.
Well,
or me.
I wanted to raise them courtless, but Claudio is like, no.
Yeah, no, that's not happening. Even I know that. I'll ward them for you if you want. Hold on, I'll be their fairy godfather. Serious.
I will bear that in mind.
It is the worst life choice you could possibly make.
You've just been examining my options here.
Yeah, I haven't. I'm letting you know of an option, but it's a really bad one. I'm going to teach your kids to curse and steal and sleep around.
So are the others. The others are also bad ones.
No, hold on. Okay, hold on. No. Liam is actually a good guy. Like, I fuck around with him and stuff like that, but he's actually a nice guy. Andreas is Andreas. It's good in bed, but he's focused. He's very focused, and a bit of an asshole at times. Liam genuinely is a good person. Some people might look askance to the fact that he's a court whore. Okay.
I suppose it really depends if it interferes with the rest of the job.
I don't think it does. From everything I've seen, he actually does a really good job at what he does. As does Andreas. There's one other option. Just pointed out. But it's kind of a serious one.
Homeschooling would kind of be like going courtless.
Yes, it would. You could always tie them to at a tracks even.
To who?
The one true fae in this city who isn't out to steal everyone's children.
I did not know that was his other name.
Ah, yes. You could always.
But he's so busy looking after Chris.
No. That's you're thinking about, Cade. No. Oh, there's a dragon. His name is Sam. Mortally, people know as Sam. His sister was my keeper, and Ashes, and Nex.
Right. Well,
I
I
mean,
don't think binding them to a true fae is a good plan.
why not? He's certainly not going to let another true fae take them. And if anybody taught your children the wonders of the world, it'd be a dragon, and he's not tied into the court, or the court's bitching over who gets to teach your child. I assume he'd either make sure they get a very rounded and astute education, or would bring in tutors for them. It's an option. It's on the table. I've seen him do it before.
So
He's taken in.
where do I find this Sam?
He's out now, but I believe that's why Nex is in the courts right now. But that being said, you'd have to consider whether Claudio would allow you to bind your child to a true fae. That just pointing it out.
It does sound like a very bad plan.
It's a bad plan. It's a plan. I'm just letting you know your options. Okay. Binding your child to me is a bad plan. Binding your child to him is a bad plan. Binding your child to Andreas is a good plan. Binding your child to Liam is a good plan. Binding your child to the Winter Court is not a good plan, in my opinion, knowing you. Binding him to the Summer Court is the worst idea of them all. I'd bind them to the True Fae first. And he'll nod vigorously.
But
possibly the True Fae in Arcadia.
But you would be willing to come and teach lessons once a month?
Sure, yeah, why
not? Okay.
I'll teach you to spit and steal and hide and do all those wonderful things. What the hell? I'm going to teach them their ABCs? What the hell?
It's good to know how to do those things, I suppose.
Exactly.
As long as you also know not to.
A really big loogie.
So yeah. Now I just need to figure out someone from the summer court and then convince Liam this is all a good plan.
That would be Devon, and that's about it.
Why Devon?
Because that's the only person in the summer court with a sane and functioning mind inside their head. The rest of them can die. I don't know if you noticed this or not, but I hate summer court. He'll nod. Devon? Yeah, we get along. We're cool people.
Well, he's definitely someone to talk to.
That's an empirical fact. Yes, I know big words like empirical, I swear.
There are very few summer court people to talk to.
This is true. One less. Should probably go do that, though.
She'll nod.
I have a husband waiting for me at home. No fiance. Oh, whatever the fuck he is, I don't care. He'll burp. It was wonderful talking to you. I can't wait to mold your children into little fucking gypsy hooligans. It's gonna be great. He'll give her a wet kiss on the cheek and traipse out. Off to Devon.
Yep.
I've got to finish after that, by the way.
It's either Devon or Bruce.
No, God, it's Devon, then please don't do Bruce. Bruce is busy. Go. There's Devon. Boop. Devon is, Devon you would have had to arrange to meet, and he'll meet you in his office. He has that look of make this quick, like be brief. And he'll sit down.
Is there anyone in your court that you think would be good at teaching lessons to very small children?
We have a village child approach when it comes to our children.
I'm kind of trying to build a similar thing at the spring court. Well, probably at the spring court.
I need you to tell me exactly what you want.
Well, I've come to the conclusion that obviously you have to bind your child to one court, not all the courts, but there's things that all the different courts are better at than the other courts. So I spoke to Andreas and he agreed that he might come and teach spellcrafting once a month. And I spoke to Javen and
hold a finger up. Tell me exactly what you want from me.
Someone that could teach the things that Summer is best at once a month at the spring court to the wards of the spring court.
And these would be your children?
Yes. Although it might be at the autumn court if I can't convince Liam to agree to do this at the spring court. So
he'll think for a literal, splits. It's very quick. And he'll nod. Yes.
Yes, you can think of someone, or yes, you would do that?
No, yes, I'll do it.
Oh, thank you.
Is that all?
Yep. Now I just have to go convince Liam that this was all an awesome idea.
He'll nod and then look to the door. Sorry, he's one of those people that's like, get out, tell him what the fuck you want, bye. So, but with that, I can actually go to Liam for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Back to Liam. So, Liam is okay, Liam is holding actually a baby. When you walk up to him this time.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a little actually changeling baby in his hands. Kind of feeding it. And I'll look to her.
So, I've had another idea. And Andreas explained things very well about the not warding children to two court things. But after some discussion, they could have tutors from outside visit very rarely. Do you think that would be something you would be okay with? Like, say, once a month for an afternoon for each of them. So like Friday afternoons or something, and different people each week. Just because one of the good things about having 4 different courts is that each of the courts is better at different things. And I really want to stress this. I'm not saying that I don't think that you or any of the other people would not give a completely rounded education. Just I really found it beneficial when I was growing up having more than one teaching style in my life.
Let me ask you a question. Do you understand that this is unprecedented?
Yes.
Are you willing to stake your children's safety on the precedence?
Hmm.
If you do this, you're doing something unprecedented, and I can't tell you the way it's going to go, and it's your children that are going to be the guinea pigs in this situation. I won't do it for somebody else. I'll do this for you because I owe a favor to Claudia. But what you are asking to do is unprecedented. And it is your children's safety you're putting on the line.
But surely, if parents come from different courts and they spend their time at home as well as at court, then they're going to be learning from more than one person and more than one court anyway.
This is why children tend to spend most of their time, especially when they're Hob children, especially when they're young, in the courts. It's why I have a job. It's why I do this. It's why I'm holding a child in my arms right now.
But they still go home with their parents at the end of the day that are not necessarily both from the same court.
Sometimes. Sometimes they don't. There are some children who are in this court who don't leave the court. The parents move here, and the children do not leave the court until they are grown enough to leave. That is why there is accommodations here, and it's why Kate is being given unprecedented access to this court because of Christopher. But you want to do this. That's fun. I'm willing to take a gamble on it. But we're gambling with your children's, not their lives, not their livelihood, their freedom. And them not becoming fodder for the gentry. You can't make that choice for you. It's up to you. I don't know how it's going to go. I'm willing to take a chance. And if this is what you want to do, then we'll do it. But I want you to be fully and understand it, that this is unprecedented. If that's a risk you're willing to take, then it's on your hands. I don't know what's going to happen.
Okay. So I've worked out my options. That's the first step.
Now, what does Claudio want to do?
He mostly said that he didn't want them raised courtless. That was pretty much it.
But does he agree to have his children be guinea pigs?
This is why I'm finding out my options and then I'm going back to discuss them.
Well then, looks like you have to talk to your husband.
That was the plan anyway. I just wanted to know whether you'd be willing to do it.
Well, of course. If you understand completely and fully that all responsibility of here and what happens is out of my hands. This is a choice you're making. And I'm not saying the gentry are going to come riding through the door the first day. I just don't know. I've never done this before. This isn't the way we do things.
She's going to nod. But even if they stay in the court, they're still going to learn things from their non-court parent.
I don't have enough crayons to explain this to you. He'll just kind of like shake his head and smile at her. Children don't tend to be raised between courts when they belong to two different courted parents. They choose to raise them in one or the other.
Yes, and I would be. I just want them to be aware of the other ones and interact with them a bit.
Well, that's where it's unprecedented. You're the first person who's ever wanted to do this.
Well, the way I see it, you can be a member of one court and have goodwill with other courts. It's kind of the same thing, or at least I'm aiming for the same thing.
I understand what you're aiming for, but children do not have the capacity. Now you have the goodwill of yourself to bestow upon your children. But you're also an adult. And you have a bit more of a acumen for avoiding the gentry. Children are defenseless. It is only by the grace of the courts, or the banning of the courtless, which is essentially a court, let's be honest, that they are protected. But you have your wits about you and you've learned. They don't. And moreover, they're completely defenseless. So what you're seeing as goodwill is something that you gain. And you gain that through your actions. Well, children can't take those actions.
They can.
No, their parents can take it for them.
No, children can take actions. They can share their last cookie with someone from a different court. They can.
I meant on a more deeper level. The kind that shields you from the Fae. You have your answer. Figure it out with Claudio and let me know what we're doing.
Sure, Maud.
Do you want to deal with him really quick?
If you think it will be really quick, then sure.
Yeah, I can do it quick. I'll, yeah, let's just go with this one, whatever. He's basically on the phone with somebody, talking sharply, but then he'll just kind of turn the conversation more to just kind of like, fuck it, and he'll hang up and rub his face. And he'll set down his stuff as though, okay, fucking away from this for tonight. And kind of look to Iris.
Okay, so Andreas explained a lot. Liam really did not explain much, but Andreas explained a lot.
Give me one quick second. 1 second. Sorry. Shit. Sorry, my phone is...
Do, 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do.
Sorry, it was the husband. Speaking of husband, there's yours.
Fiance, but yes.
The soon-to-be husband. With that look on his face. So he's very frustrated.
Yep. So, Andreas explained a lot. Liam did not really, but Andreas did explain a lot. So, I think I came up with a sort of a compromise.
All right.
So, we have to ward them to a specific court. But that doesn't mean that that is the only court that they can learn things from, because otherwise they couldn't learn things from their other court parent and stuff. Right?
He'll just kind of like...
So, admittedly, I have no idea how long or short a time it will be before they actually need lessons and things. But I've built a possible plan.
Tell me, Caramillo.
Well, if we ward them to the spring court, I've managed to convince Liam to agree that maybe one afternoon a week they could have lessons from someone else.
But they would belong to the spring court.
Yes.
Fine. We'll hold his hands up. Like, good. Great. Thank you.
It is unprecedented, though, because they would be from other courts.
Touch his jaw.
I mean, Joven's here a lot to begin with, so... And Devin said he'd be okay with doing it. And Andreas, of course. And I'm also thinking Crystalis, because she can kind of bring a hob perspective to things, and she's already spring, so. But I haven't been able to talk to her yet.
Have you thought of asking the emissaries to the court? Lucas? Gabriel? Malik?
No. You said that Liam was the one that's in charge of the kids.
He is.
So I spoke to him.
If you wanted our children to have education throughout the courts, the court has emissaries. The Sylvan emissary. Tied into each one of the courts.
Mm-hmm.
Could have gone to them.
I could have, but then they'd just have to go to the court and ask the people themselves.
I think that would fall within the bailiwick of their duties, teaching the Sylvan Wheeze. with the other courts. That's what we do. The Sylvan emissaries are, in part, responsible for teaching children the other courts.
Well, nobody told me they did that.
You didn't think that they would be getting a well-rounded upbringing.
Well, it's not so much that. It's that, well, I really benefited from having more than one teacher.
Your teachers were teaching you French, arithmetics.
And Draven could teach them how to hide really well. And also about stealing and spitting, but I think he was mostly joking with those. Though it would be something that would be handy to know how to do in case you really, really needed to. The stealing, not the spitting. Probably.
Do you really think this is best for our children? This is what you want?
The problem is, it's what I think would give them the best education. But I don't know nearly enough about it to know if it's what would make them the safest. And that's the really big problem.
We don't need to give them direction in their younger years, Karamil. They can just be left to be children with their education coming in a time where we have more ability to
I just don't know how fast they're going to grow. That is the problem.
do what? Now, I've not seen Hob children grow so fast that it was shocking or much more faster than a mortal child. I've seen them grow maybe 6 months to every year. I think it was the most fast I ever saw.
Then they won't even need the extra lessons until like 3 or 4 years' time. There's no point in them having the extra lessons when they're still trying to figure out colouring.
He'll nod. That's why I'm a bit confused right now.
Well, like I said, I didn't know how much they were going to grow. They've been growing really, really fast.
They have been Karamil.
So they might have kept doing that.
I'll shrug. Perhaps.
And then in like 4 months' time, they'd be ready to start lessons rather than
fret so much. This is why you don't belong in the spring.
She's going to give him a hug for that comment, by the way.
Huh?
She's going to give him a hug. There's next to no explanation of why she's giving him a hug.
Everybody else fucking doesn't get it, but he does.
Yeah. That is actually why. But that is actually why, but that doesn't mean he knows why.
I have a lot to do tonight, Daniel. Unfortunately, the kings don't know how to plan for 12th night.
Isn't the 12th night on the 6th, though?
It's a different thing in our society.
Okay.
It's a party that takes place on the 12th night of the year.
Oh, of the year, not of Christmas. That makes more sense.
Yes, exactly. It's
Especially considering Christmas is not really a Fae thing. But yes.
it's akin to a feast of fools, and a time when the spring court shifts. It turns places. The king becomes a commoner, and a commoner is risen to the king. And there's fires, and it's considered a night of general mischief and maliciousness.
Okay, so I will stay home that night. But what planning did they need to do then?
Make sure no one dies again. There was a death last year.
Yeah, that would be bad.
And just general where it is, how it goes down, keeping track of who's lost their damn mind and who's on what drug and whatnot, and food and blah blah blah.
And of
It's a
course,
party. It is a festivity.
And of course, with people having losing their mind lately anyway, it's not going to be easy.
No.
Just remember, no dying and keep an eye on Tam.
So I can kill Tam. I'll kind of look at her like,
No. You're not
you say
allowed
I can't die.
You're not allowed to die.
My natural reaction is to kill him.
Nope. You're not allowed to die and he's not allowed to die.
Okay. Well, I'll try to avoid death as I do. As I said, that would be the last thing I plan to do on this earth. So.
She's going to give him another hug.
I'll nuzzle her and kiss her forehead. I'm going to be late tonight, but I'll be home. But I will be very late. 1, 2, possibly.
Okay. You'll kiss him on the forehead.
And smile and give her a nuzzle. He'll yawn a little bit. It's early evening by this point. It looks like he's about to tuck in for a second leg of some heavy work. He's got some other stuff he has to do too, so. Are you just going to spend the evening home alone, or is the cat home?
Don't know yet, but I've got lots of thinking to do, and I might finish up the mural in the nursery.
Okay. Te amo.
I love you too.
You smile at her. He'll turn her around and swat her bottom. Like, get the hell out, I have to work. You distract me so lovely. Like, go.
And she will in fact go.
Okay.
And wander home to do lots of thinking and painting and cooking.
And this man is off to plan 12th night, and oh god, all of the insanity that goes there. So I can end it there. Thank you, players, for playing, and thank you, watchers, for watching. Goodbye!